of to bring people back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then many of the actually the younger generations, they don't know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So if you take the new use technology, use technology, that they have done, they have done videos, they have done a lot of great stuff, the ghazwat, right, the battles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, to bring these meanings closer to our children, to the younger generation. Like, so these are all, a say of the, of the means of the zaman, of the means of the time, and use them, right, to bring these meanings closer to the younger generation, especially. um, um, right. So as we said that, uh, so if we use, our our intellects, our ideas, together ideas, right, in finding ways to bring the Sira closer and more, and more exciting, right, more, attractive, right, to our younger generation. I find ways to bring it to them, and that is more attractive to them. About the akhlaq of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I tell stories about his akhlaq, tell them stories about his life, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm, um, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, um, right, so we're going to start today, inshallah. Right, so today's lesson, on the children of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In the last lesson, we spoke about his uncles, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Today, we will speak about his children. And this is how the book begins. The book begins with all of these facts of the Prophet ﷺ before it goes to the life of Rasulullah ﷺ. And so the oldest of his children is Al-Qasim. And it is by this first son of his that he has the kunya. He's called Abu Qasim. And he's known as the father of Qasim. The way the Arabs are, they call people in respect by their children's name. They'll say father of so-and-so or mother of so-and-so. Right, so Abu Qasim that is the kunya of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So so his kunya is by his oldest son, Al Qasim. Right, but Sayyidina Al Qasim, he passed away when he was about 2 years old, 2 years old, before revelation came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so Abdullah, right, he is called At-Tayyib At-Tahir, and he was born after Nubuwah. He was born after Nubuwah, I mean after revelation, and some say that he was born before revelation. But the more correct opinion is that he was born after revelation. Mm. Right, so he was born after Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. So he was called, Abdullah. His name is Abdullah, right? After the father of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's called At-Tayyib At-Tahir, and he's called the pure, the pure and the pure one and the good one, right? Because he was said to be born, and the Rasul was already a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So he has four, and then he has four daughters. He has Sayyidah Zainab, Sayyidah Ruqayya, Sayyidah Kalthum, and Sayyidah Fatima Az-Zahra. And so all of them lived to see Islam, and all of them migrated with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So Sayyidah Khadija, Rasulullah sallallahu had, 6 children, right, whereby he had Al Qasim, Abdullah are his sons. The oldest is Al Qasim, youngest is Abdullah, and in between he has his four daughters, right, Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. Then later on, he had his last son, right, from the slave girl Maria, right? And the son was named Ibrahim. Sayyidina Ibrahim bin Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So this was from a slave girl named Maria, right? Not a wife, but a slave girl, right? Who was gifted to him, right, by the Muqawqis, right? Who was the king in Alexandria. Right, when Rasul wrote to him as a letter to call him to Islam, he gifted gifts to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and of them was Maria, and she was a Coptic Christian, right? Which she came into Islam eventually. Mm. No. Right. So Zainab, she's of the oldest daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She married her cousin, whose name was Abd'az bin Rabi'. Right. So from him, she gave birth to Ali, who passed away very young, and Umama, who is her daughter, and she is the one that it was narrated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would carry her. and will carry her while he is praying. It's one of some of the narrations of Umama. No. Mm, right, right. Umama, Sayyidah Umama, right? She was married first to Sayyidina Ali, right? Sayyidina Ali, but later on she was married to next page. She was married to Sayyidina Muawiyah later on when Sayyidina Ali was killed and was when he passed away, right? So Sayyidina Fatima Zahra, when she was about to pass away, she gave her Afwan, not Muawiyah, Naufal. Um, so Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra, she had given the will to Sayyidina Ali to marry her niece, right, who was Sayyidah Umama, right, Sayyidah Umama, who was the daughter of Sayyidah Zainab, right. So after the death of Sayyidina Ali, she married Al-Mughira bin Nawfal bin Harith bin Abdul Muttalib, right, and she bore a son Yahya, and she died while she was married to him. Right, so Sayyidah Fatima was married to Sayyidina Ali, and she bore him sons, Hassan al-Hussein and Muhsin. Right, Saddam Hussein passed away very young. Right, so that's why we don't hear much about Saddam Hussein because he passed away when he was young. Right, then she had three daughters, right, whom she named after her sisters who had passed away. Right, she passed away. She named them after the sisters who had passed away. Right, so Ruqayya, Zainab, and Kulthum. Ruqayya passed away before adulthood. Abdullah bin Ja'far married Sayyidina Zainab, right, who is the daughter of Sayyidina Fatima Zahra. She bore a son, Sayyidina Ali, who passed away at birth. Then Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab married Kulthum, who bore his son Zayd. Right after him, Sayyidina Umar's death, and Auf bin Ja'far married her, followed by his brother Abdullah, right, after their death. Right, so now, so now the second daughter of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we speak about Sayyidah Ruqayya. So as for Ruqayya, she was married to Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, and she bore Abdullah, and she passed away on the day when Zayd bin Haritha came the good news, with the victory of Badr. So the same day whereby they won Badr, the same day Sayyidah Ruqayya, she passed away. She was the first of the daughters of Rasulullah to pass away. So she passed away. Thereafter, Osman married her sisters, and Uthman married her sisters, Kulthum, who passed away while she was married to him in Sha'ban in the year 9 after Hijrah. And so she also passed away. So three of his daughters passed away before Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when Sayyidah Fatima Zahra outlived him. Mm. Right. So here there's a brief summary, of the children of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He has 7 children. His sons all passed away young. His daughters, they passed away fairly young, but of his wives, right, of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm. Right, so the wives of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, so his wives, so Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he first married Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwailid, which we know, right, and she lived with him before revelation, right, for 15 years, right, and she was with him after revelation for 10 years, right, and then she no less than 10 years, right, she passed, so until 3 years before migration of one. On the 3 years before migration, then she passed away while married to him. Right, she is the first of Allah's creation to come into Islam, right, to embrace Islam at the hands of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Um, mm, right, mm, and right, so right. So Rasulullah, so Sayyidah Khadija, she was known for her purity and her chastity even before Islam. Right. Many people had come to propose to her for marriage, but she would reject them, reserving herself for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hmm. No. Yeah, so she had children, right, from her previous marriages. You have Hind and Hala, and these are names that are actually unisexual names, in a sense that you can go for male and female, right? So she had a son and a daughter. Had two sons back and one daughter, right, of these names, right? And so she had 3 children before Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then she married Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm, mm, right. So her mahar was 20, like beautiful pots in a way. They say ina and right? So some form of pots, right? So there was a mahar, right? That what she was given. So radiallahu anha wardaha. Right, so said that Rasulullah was longest married to Sayyidah Khadija. He was monogamous, right? While he was married to her. Then after she passed away, he passed he after she passed away, mm, he married Sayyidah Sauda binti Zam'a. As she grew old with him, he was going to divorce her. At one point, she gave her dates in Aisha and said, I have no need for men. She doesn't want men, but she wants to be resurrected as one of his wives. And among of her distinct traits is that she was the only wife of Rasulullah some 3 years after the father passed, Sayyidah Khadija passed away. And she was the one who gave him a lot of comfort. Now, and she passed away in the year 55 after Hijrah. Mm, nice. Mm. Right. So he married Sayyidah Sauda, a few days after Sayyidah Khadija passed away, right? In Shawwal. Right. And the third wife of Rasulullah is Sayyidah Aisha binti Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhuma, and he married her in Mecca 2 years before migration. It's been said that was 3 years before migration. She was only 6 or 7 years old while he married her. And he consummated the marriage while he was in Medina when she was 9 years old. Mm. And he passed away, leaving her behind when she was 18 years of age, and she passed away in the year 58 after migration. And there was no other virgin that he married besides Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. And then he married Sayyidah Hafsa, and it was said that, Rasul was upset with her once and he divorced her, right? And whereupon Jibril said to him, take Hafsa back, because Hafsa, she sawama qawama, she would fast in abundance, and she would pray in abundance. The narration, he said that out of mercy for Sayyidina Umar, I take back, Hafsa, because of the goodness of Sayyidina Umar. And so she passed away in the year 45, and it was said otherwise. Then you have Habiba binti Abu Sufyan, was the next wife of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Like he married her while she was in Habasha. Right, so the Najashi, the king of Habasha, gave the mahar on his behalf, 400 dirhams. And then Osman bin Affan was commissioned to conduct the marriage because it was an overseas marriage. Right, so she was married to Rasulullah while she was overseas. Mm. And her story was that she went to Habasha with her previous husband, right? And while they were in Habasha, the previous husband apostated from Islam and entered into Christianity, right? And therefore she was automatically divorced from him, right? And then Rasulullah proposed to her in marriage. Okay, the next wife is Salama Hind bint Umayyah. And she passed away in the year 62, and she was the last of his wives to pass away. Although it has been said that Maimuna was the last one to pass away, and her name was Hind. Said Salama, and her name was Hind. No. Mm, right. So she was married to Abi Salama. So and they were the first people to actually migrate to Abyssinia. Then they all came to Medina. Her husband was a righteous man who passed away in one of the battles. So when her husband passed away, Rasulullah proposed to her and married her, and took in also her children, who became his stepchildren. Then came Zainab bint Jahash. Right, she is the cousin of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Uh, mm. So she was married. She was at first married to Zayd bin Haritha, who was the adopted son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Zayd, divorced her. And then Rasulullah married her. Mm, it was something that and this marriage between Zayd and Zainab and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was commanded by Allah subhanahu wa taala in the Quran. And she used to say that, the rest of you are married, by your fathers on the earth, but I was married to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Allah subhanahu wa taala from above the seven heavens. MashaAllah. So the Juwaira bint al-Harith, she was captured during the expedition, the Ghazwa of Bani al-Mustaliq, and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he freed her and then he married her. Mhm. Right. So and she passed away in the year 56. And then thereafter, Rasulullah married Maimuna bint al-Harith. She is the maternal aunt of Khalid bin Walid and Abdullah bin Abbas. And she is the last of the woman that he married. And she passed away in the year 51. It has been said that it was year 66. Then he met, she's just going to the wives quickly. Safiya bint Huyay bint Akhtab, who was from the progeny of Nabi Harun alayhi salam. She was captured in, she was a Jewess at first, then she came into Islam. She was captured in the Khaybar, and so she sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he sallallahu alaihi wasallam freed her and made her, her freedom, her dowry, and that was her dowry. And she passed away in the year 50. There was Zainab bint Khuzaimah, right? The mother of Umm al-Fuqara. And Zainab bint Khuzaimah, she passed away before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Two of his wives passed away before him. Nine of his wives outlived him. Right? So Zainab bint Khuzaimah passed away before him, as with Sayyidah Khadija passed away before him. So he married her 3 years after migration and only lived with him for 2 or 3 months before she passed away. So these are the wives of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that are established that they were his wives and they had lived with him, and he also consummated the marriage with them. And their graves are well known in Al-Baqi in Medina, with the exception of Sayyidah Khadija, who is buried in Al-Hajun, and Sayyidah Maimuna, who is in Wadi Sarif between Makkah and close to Makkah. She's buried there. Mm. Right. So there are other women, right, whereby the Prophet ﷺ, he married, there was an aqad, there was a nikah, right, but he did not actually consummate the marriage with them, right. So he actually divorced them before consummation, and some of them he did divorce, right, after consummation. So the first one was Fatima binti al-Dahhak, whom he gave the option of for divorce when the verse was given to the wives the option of dunya. If you want dunya, then you'll be divorced. If you want akhirah, then they will remain married to Rasulullah. This woman, she chose dunya. She actually chose dunya over the Prophet. She chose dunya over Rasulullah. And thereafter, she'll be seen picking up the camel droppings and she would say, I'm wretched. I'm the one who chose dunya. I am wretched. I'm the one who chose dunya over the Prophet. And you have Sharaf, the sister of Dihya al Kalbi. Mm. And you have Khawla bint Huzail. You see that she was called Bint Hakim or Sharik, the one who gave herself away as a gift to him. And then but he didn't, did not consummate the marriage with her. Asma bin Ka'b al-Juwayniyah as well. So the three of them, the last three, right? They were married to him, right? But there was no consummation of the marriage, and then he divorced her. Right? Why? Because he married um, so he married a woman. So he married a woman from Al Ghifar, whom he saw white patches of vitiligo. I mean, he had an illness in about her that was contagious, right? And he sent her back to her family. And he divorced her. Umayma also. When he entered the room to be with her, she said, "I seek refuge in Allah from you." She said that words to Rasulullah Islam, and to which he replied, "May Allah protect the one seeking refuge in him. Stay with your family." So she was sent back to her family as well. And Aliyah binti Zabian, whom he divorced when he was divorced when she um now sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now when she entered into his presence, these are all they're all stories behind all of these people. So Binti As-Salat, who passed away before he consummated marriage. First he married her, then she passed away before he even consummated with her. Al-Malika, Al-Laythiyah, as some of them, the scholars have said that she's the one who sought refuge in Rasulullah. So there was one woman who did that, right? And then he divorced her. So he asked for the hand of a woman from her father, who described her in these words, "I will tell you more. She has never fallen ill." To which Rasulullah said, "There is no goodness in this woman in Allah's sight." Someone has never fallen ill in that way. Right, so he left her. And obviously they have reasons behind them. There are actually stories and reasons behind all of these women, but they're in longer books. And so the dowry to his wives was 500 dirhams each, right? With the extra of Sophia and Habiba. This is the soundest opinion. For Sophia, it was her freedom, and for Habiba, the Najashi, I gave her dowry. The brothers and sisters of Rasulullah through suckling. And so Sayyidina Hamza and Sayyidina Abu Salama, Abdullah bin Abdul Asad, right, they were suckled together with Rasulullah. They were brothers, right, in milk with Rasulullah by Suwaiba The Thuwaiba was a slave woman of Abu Lahab. So with milk through pregnancy with a son, Al-Masrub, bin Thuwaiba. Hamza and Abu Salama are from the very first foreigners. I mean, they are the Sabiqun, right, to Islam. They're the first people, to come to Islam. So, Thuwaiba, she was freed by Abu Lahab when she came to Abu Lahab with the good news of the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Abu Lahab was so pleased with the news that he freed Thuwaiba from slavehood, and she was so grateful to Rasulullah being the cause, of her freedom, right? That she went to him as a baby and she suckled him. And she gave him milk, right? And that was a gift to Rasulullah. After because of him, she was freed, right? So Abu Sufyan bin Al Harith bin Abdullah bin Abdul Muttalib, who together with Rasulullah was succumbed to Halim Sa'adiyah, right? So he later accepted Islam. So Abdullah, Anisa, and Shayma are the children of Sayyidina Halim Sa'adiyah from her husband Al Harith. Right, these three and their father Al Harith we mentioned in the book Al Isaba, and they're amongst the companions. They all came into Islam eventually. Now, and with regards to his uh, maternal uncles, the maternal uncles of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm, mm. Naam. Right. So the first of them is Aswad bin al-Wahhab, who was the brother of Sayyida Amina bint al-Wahhab, who came to Rasulullah and taught him some words and instructed him on certain du'as. This has been transmitted by Sharah al-Mawahib. Right. So basically, these are all these is maternal uncles, right? And you have Abdul Yaghud bin Wahab, the father of Aswad, and he was one of those who used to mock Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, all the mockers they all died terrible endings. And maternal aunt called Fari'ah binti Wahab. It's all the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, tamam. So now she said that we're gonna take this amount for today, and if you have any questions, you can ask your questions. Okay, you're gonna open up questions now. Are there any questions? Um, you can ask your questions. There's a lot of things that we took today. Can you release me from the transition? Got it. Any other question? Any other question in regards to the? Nobody has a question. All of this information are not. It's not new to you all. آه ما كان ما عندهم سؤال ما شاء الله. يعني ما شاء الله، يعني زوجات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأولاده وما شاء الله. You all have no question. And so Susa was saying that the previous lesson we took on the traits of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that every Muslim should know. And then for this lesson we just took some of the you say the biography. And the biography not biography, but you say what do you call this in English? Basically like his family members, his children, so all like facts, facts about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, he's just his this is just facts about him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. MashaAllah. Right. So the question was, all these facts and information and death and names and when he got married and all that. I should ask the question, is it important for us to memorize all this stuff? Like, mashallah. We've learned this before, someone said learned this before, like if we never memorized it. So she asked the question, is it important for us to memorize it? So the answer that Ustazah gave, right, is that, well, if you're gonna tell stories, you're gonna teach people, teach your children and everything, then it's important that you get your facts right. Right, and that you memorize them. So if you're unable to memorize them, at least write them down somewhere that you can always refer to this facts of about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And also there is like you said, a guidance from the from Habib, right, that for us to remember the events in the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as our time of love for him. Right, so in the events, so it's like his marriages are great events in his life, right? The death of his wives, the other mothers of the believers, right? So it's on us, as our love for them, they memorize these things. And so when the month comes, we know that this month is the month whereby he married this wife of his, or in this month it is a death of this particular wife of his, and so on and so forth. Right. So in memorizing there is benefit, right, in that you will appreciate, it's called munasabat, you appreciate the great events in the life of Rasulullah. It also includes his battles, and also the great things that happen in his lifetime. Right. It is on the believer to be acquainted first and foremost, and then to be fluent, right, in these things, right, to be very, to be very much fluent in knowing the facts and figures and numbers, and dates of birth and whatsoever, right, of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his life. MashaAllah. Barakallahu fikum. هناك سؤال. هي سألت لماذا هذه أميمة اسمها كأنت أم هي تعيذ بالله تعالى من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. لماذا هي فعلت كذا؟ Basically this Umayma, there was something about her, right? So basically, when Rassam came into after he got married to her, he came into the room, right, and he said to her, to present herself to him, right, and she said that, should a queen present herself to, someone, and she used a word that was somewhat degrading on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There was some form of something about her, that some form of arrogance or whatever it was about her, but she said a word, or her the statement was that should a queen give herself to someone, and she said a word that was kind of degrading on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And there was also some, she had this, this this personality about her, right, that was unpleasant, right. And so some he placed his hand on her to try and, kind of, soften her, or to calm her down, to make her, ease herself into the marriage, right? And then she said, I seek protection from you, right? With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I seek protection from you. So that was the, kind of, to do that, to use Allah's name, and then to seek protection from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So he said, okay, you know what? If you want to seek protection from me, then go back to your family, right? So he let her go. He let her go and let her go back to her family, right? There was something about her, right? So basically, he let her leave the house, and she went back to the family straight away. So I was saying that, well, this kind of methods, right? You would say people have their portions, right? So she had no portion with Rasulullah Islam, unfortunately. She had no portion, right? So it was not meant to be. It was just that it was not meant to be, right? For her to be married to Rasulullah Islam. She didn't have a portion with Rasulullah Islam, and didn't have a portion to be, of the mothers of the believers, and to be the wife of Rasulullah in the hereafter, right? So something that was, amiss about this person. نعم. هناك سؤال سألت كيف يعني كيف كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم مع زوجته، وهل لديك قصة المفضلة، أحب القصص إليك عن الزوجات مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ هل هناك. Right. So the question here is, so about what was the favorite story about Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his wives, and mashallah, and Suza actually mentioned a very very beautiful point. At the end of her answer, I will say it first before I forget. Right, to say it, she mentioned that, mashallah, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had 11 wives, altogether, but nine, at any one time, of the max. Right, the maximum number was nine at any one time, and that he treated all of his wives in a very beautiful and just manner, that they all loved him very much. And she said that, how many men with just one wife, or maybe two wives, are unable to treat their wives well, unable to, give their wives their rights. And there are some had 9 wives, and he was able to fulfill all of their rights, and to treat all of them well, mashallah. So it's a different view in regards to polygamy, right? So people see polygamy as something blameworthy, right? But actually polygamy in the way of in from in the view to view Rasulullah in his polygamy is to see greatness in him. And there's actually greatness in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That he was able to handle 9 women, right? And to please all of them. Many men can't even please one, right? And he could please 9, right? He could be good to 9 women, at one go. Like that shows the greatness of a man that he was, right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Instead of what people try to say is the opposite with regards to polygamy, saying he's lustful. No, he was a great human being, a great man, to be able to handle 9 women, and to please all of them. So the first story that Suza actually mentioned in his in that she really loved, right, the story of Sayyidina Aisha. She mentioned before, whereby there were some guests in the house of Sayyidina Aisha, right? And Sayyidina Aisha had no food, right, to serve these guests. Another wife of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam heard about these guests in his house, and she heard that there was no food there. So she had sent, a plate of food for the guest. Right. So when you arrive at the house with Aisha, she kind of got jealous. She got upset. Like, it's my guest, my house, you send food, you're busybody, that kind of thing. Like, she got upset with the other wife. Like, why are you making me look bad? That kind of thing. So she got so upset that she was so jealous, that and she's a young woman, growing up, to understand that Sayyidina Aisha is developing, and she's a young woman, right? Teenager, yani, right? So she got so jealous that she threw the plate, on the ground. She had a temper. She threw it on the ground, and it basically, she threw all the food on the ground and broke the plate, right? And they could hear the crash, right, from inside the house. You hear the crash from outside, and the Rasul just smiled, and he just said, your mother is jealous, right? I mean, in a sense that he didn't scold her, didn't get upset with her, didn't lose his temper on her, nothing. He understood she was in a state that she was unable to, control her displeasure, and she just broke the plate, and she ruined all the food, so he understood what she was going through, what she was facing. I mean, mashallah, how many men could control themselves in that way and control their temper or control their anger? Rasul had no anger in the first place. He was just calm, right? But how many men could actually just face the situation and just not even, lose it, or not even, raise their voice against it? Their wife would just threw a tantrum outside the house. When he had guests in the house, she threw a tantrum outside the house, mashallah. All he did was he got up, he went to her, said, Aisha, may Allah, have be pleased with her and raise her in ranks. He said that Aisha, our mother, but these are stories when she was younger. Right? So he just said to her, replace the plate. Now you broke her plate, right? So you replace the plate with your plate. Okay, give her your plate. In being fair, I am being fair. You broke someone's plate, you give her your plate, and that was it. And that is one of Usada's favorite stories, because really, it shows a person who understands people, and where they're coming from, what they are. Subhanallah. And Usada also mentioned, many of the stories, of between the wives of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he loved how he interacted with them, how he understood their positions, how he understood their mentalities, and what they were going through, and how he would comfort them as well. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She said, mentioned so many stories of the Khadija that she can choose from, so many of them that she loved. But of course, she said that, of the thing that she highlighted was that, she just loved how he handled 9 women, and they were all happily married to him. Right? They were all happily married to him. Right? That is really, an attestament to the greatness of a man that he was. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to handle all of the temperaments, to handle all the different temperaments. It is, you say, a miracle in itself that he can handle so many temperaments around him as a husband. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. MashaAllah. mashallah. Right. So she mentioned a few more stories of the Aisha and her jealousy. I mean, mashallah, I think Sada likes the stories of Sayyidina Aisha and her jealousy. It's normal for women to have jealousy, especially if your husband has other wives, right? I mean, it's a very natural woman um emotion, right? Which Rasulullah SAW recognized, right? He recognized and he was able to handle her in a very gentle and beautiful manner. Right. So there was, but at the same time, he put limits as to her jealousy. He did put limits on her jealousy. Right. So one of the stories of her jealousy night was that there was one night, it was her night, with Rasulullah. She woke up, she couldn't find him next to her. Right. So straight away she thought to herself, oh, he must have gone to another wife. And this from jealousy, she thought of that. He must have gone to another wife. So she out of her jealousy, she began to search where did he go. Right? And she found that he was at the grave and he was doing dua for the people of the grave, people of Baqi'. She saw that he was doing dua on the middle night of Sha'ban. It shows the greatness of this Sha'ban. The middle night of Sha'ban, he was at the grave at the Baqi' making dua for the people of Baqi' that Allah forgives them. So she saw that and she was so embarrassed about herself, being jealous and thinking that he went some other wife. Like she ran back before he could get back home. She ran back to her, to her room, and she was panting, right? Because she didn't want to be found out that she was like kind of like suspecting him to go somewhere else. But he went to the grave. Now, Rasulullah is not someone who is lustful at all. He's a prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And all of his marriages had reasons. Um, so mashallah, that's Rastam, he found her, like panting in her grave. And then there was the hadith where he informed her about the greatness of the night of this Sha'ban. And that's where we get the hadith from, right? Of the greatness of the night of this Sha'ban. And when mashallah, and said Aisha, if it weren't for her jealousy, we won't know, about what Rasul was doing on this great night of this Sha'ban. So may Allah reward her greatly on our behalf that because of her jealousy, she went out of the house to look for him and she found him doing what he was doing. And then she narrated that to us for us to benefit from the night of this Sha'ban. Right. So and then Sayyidina Muhammad, right, and then also another story of whereby in one of the wives of Rasulullah, Sophia, she was a very beautiful woman, mashallah, and she was once walking past the Prophet sallallahu alaihi, he wasn't already married, mashallah, and she was walking past Rasulullah, and Rasulullah was sitting with Sayyidina Aisha, but his gaze was following Sayyidina Sophia, and so then Aisha got jealous, like why are you gazing at her? They're wives, all wives, right? And she got jealous, and she basically her jealous went overboard. So that is when the Rasul put a stop to it, right? When he goes overboard, right? So she said to him, she said to him, enough, enough from this person, and then she used her hand and she showed like she's short, right? So she did a gesture with her hand, right, to kind of indicate this person's so short. She's so short. So enough of this short person. In the sense, Sophia was short, right? She was not a tall person. So Rasulullah here she transgressed, right, the bounds of jealousy. You can't go there because now he has fallen into backbiting. Right. So Rasulullah said to her, "Oh, Aisha, you have said a word." And it was a gesture. It wasn't a word, it was a gesture. But he said, you said a word that if you were to mix with the oceans of the world, it would have changed it. I mean, it was an ugly word. Right? So it's a form of backbiting. And Zayda Aisha, she was the one who narrated this story to us. And from there we learn, that how subtle backbiting can be. That even to the extent of being jealous of your husband's, other wives, you're not allowed to do backbiting, right, against them. It's not allowed, right? It is not allowed, right? So, mashallah. And many of the stories, mashallah, about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he handled his wives, right, and how he taught them and how he nurtured them, mashallah. هناك سؤال أن she said that first and foremost, understand as believers that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever he does, it is a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is wahyu. So it is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever he does, right? So there are matters that on the outward, we might not understand why he did that. Right, we might think, or we might even judge him, and that is not on us. That is not our right to judge. Right, we have no right to judge our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that, because you might see something on the outward and you might think, hey, but he divorced her because she was sick. That's not fair. Or you might say, oh, he wanted to divorce Sayyidah Sauda because she was old. That's not fair. Right? Or it's, oh, he didn't want he didn't want to stay married to the woman who never fell sick. That's not fair. You might think all of these things, and these are all, whispers, right? And then these are actually, frankly, they are bad opinions. Right? Bad opinions that are plaguing your heart, right? Because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he sees beyond the physical, because Allah has allowed him to see, right, beyond the physical. So there could be some other reason about this person that is not disclosed to us, because it would expose the kind of people they are. Right, so to not expose them to the people, that he didn't say anything as to why he divorced them, right? So, and it could just be a command from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? So we say these are the khususiyat. There's something that is, that is specialized for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, exclusive for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Because he receives revelation. So he's able to see people beyond what we see, of people. So we might think it is the reason why he divorced her, that she was, sick. But you don't know the real reason, because he didn't say it. Because to say it would be to expose her, right? So we don't know the real reason why he divorced her. All we know is that he did, right? He divorced her. Same thing with all the other stories of Rasulullah Sallallahu. But what we do know is that he is commanded by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That he does not do anything from his own desires, nor his own, thinking, or his fancies and his whims. La. He doesn't even have whims and fancies, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And we also understand that, all of this that he has done, right, it's all guided by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It's on the believer, right, to not allow for their hearts to have commentary, or to comment, on the actions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because we don't know the real matter, right, that has to do with it. Right? There's is humility. It's humility on our part. You don't know the real situation of people. That's on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What more if other, if other human beings, you really don't know what's going on with them. You can't comment, on them. And the day of Arafah, the one I will, the message has been spread around by Habib Omar. He has answered that question. So any, yeah, same question just now. Uh, no, the list is not in order. The one who asked about why Sayyidah Maimuna was mentioned first. It's not in order. It's not in order. It's like Allah, subhanallah. And so she said that, first and foremost, this matter with with polygamy, right? I mean, there's so much, there has been already been written about polygamy, and about, actually, if you want to if you want to do if you really want to do your research on polygamy, you can do your research on polygamy with regards to, societies of the past. It's many societies that had polygamy as part of the society, right? So it's not something that was exclusive, right, to just the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam nor the Muslims, but it's really something that is really worldwide, polygamy. Um, so if you want to approach the matter of polygamy, it's actually not a matter in itself. It's not an issue. But the people of our zaman, especially the disbelievers, the enemies of Islam, they make it into an issue. But it's not an issue, but they make it into an issue. But then again, so if they want to claim, out of the shallowness, these enemies of Islam out there, and of course we know that, people are sincere to Islam, and they're actually interested in Islam. All these or non-Muslims who actually want to know more, right? They might be hearing all these whispers, and they might be not be able to reconcile with these whispers, right? So first and foremost, you say, the proofs that the marriages of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not, lustful, right? Because what they want to portray is that a man who has many wives is a lustful man. That's not true. That's not necessary. That someone who has many wives is lustful. Not at all, right? Because, and the proof of that is that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his youth, right, he was monogamous, right? While the society was polygamous, right? Everyone in society was polygamous. He was one person in society for 25 years of his youth, and from the age of 25 to 50 years old, he was monogamous with Sayyidah Khadija, right? And then after Sayyidah Khadija passed away, and again, he married someone much older than him. Right? So if he was someone who was lustful, and who have gone for many women in his youth, and you have gone for, younger women, why did he go for an elderly woman? And after she passed away, he could have gone straight, to somebody who is younger, but no, he spent 3 years with another older woman. I said a Sauda. So again, he was still monogamous for 3 more years. Said a Sauda, while he had married Sayyida Aisha, he had not entered into her nor consumed the marriage with her. But it was a marriage that was in that zaman. They would do the akad, right, without any living together nor consummation. Then only when the woman is strong enough and big and old enough, then there will be consummation. Okay, so if you look at all the wives of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you see that, over and over again, every single reason as to why he got married had nothing to do with lust. It has nothing to do with lust, but a lot of it has to do with da'wah. And an example is one of his wives, from Bani Mustaliq, right? So when Rasul married her, right, the Muslims had won a battle over Bani Mustaliq, right? And because they had won the battle, they had taken many of the people of the tribe as captives of war. Right? So many people of this tribe, but Bani Mustaliq, right, they were captives of war. So when Rasul married her, right, the Muslims began to say, the in-laws of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, now this Bani Mustaliq, they are the in-laws of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How can we keep them as captives? Right? So they freed all these people, and so many of them went into Islam thereafter. See, it's all strategies of dawah. Right, so when he married her, the Muslims automatically they freed of her tribe members, and she was said to be the most blessed woman for her tribe, right? Because by her marriage to Rasulullah, so many of her own tribe members who were caught, who were captives by the war, they were freed, and so many of them came into Islam thereafter. Right, so you see the entire wisdom behind it. Every single one of his wives, you'll find that there is a cause of da'wah, there is a reason, right, for the marriage of this woman. Right, so all of them, you find it. Right, so the world that we live in today, right, they want us to believe, right, that marriage is only for lust. No, there are many reasons for marriage, not just lust. And lust is one of the very low reasons of marriage, right? But there are many reasons why people get married, right? So and especially for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it was not at all her. It was, you can find it in the book, and it's in the book. Right? So for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is not it's not at all for lust, right? It's not at all for lust, right? For Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, so and she said that, and also they will say things about Sayyidina Aisha and her young age, and they keep attacking this. It was not an issue in the Zaman of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's still not an issue in our time, but there are people who try and make it an issue to make people who have an inclination towards Islam to not come into Islam, and that is their goal. Their goal is not to find the truth, but their goal is to actually cause for disturbances in the heart of people, right, against the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. All these matters are matters of society and of culture, right? And they do not affect at all the truth of the prophethood of Rasulullah. Right? The proof of his prophethood is in the signs of revelation and of miracles given to him. And the rest of it about his marriage, his wives, the age of his wife, and so on, these are all societal things, societal issues, and cultural issues. And it changes from time to time and from society to society and from culture to culture. It all changes, right? So it's not something to judge him on, Sallallahu, and we have no right for that, right? And secondly, it is something that is just in society. That was it. It was a culture, right? That was part of their society.
أيضا
تمام.
أيضا نوع من
نعم.
نرى نوع من التكافل الاجتماعي. يعني شوفي لما يكون واحدة مطلقة أو واحدة زوجها مات، يعني سبحان الله ما نظرة المجتمع الآن. نحن في زماننا في واقعنا، الذي يريد أن يتزوج الثانية أو الثالثة يبحث عن صغيرة ويبحث غير متزوجة. لكن كان في حياة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والصحابة، حتى لما نرى الصحابة في الغزوات لما يموتوا بعض الرجال، هذا يتزوج على هذه وهذا يتزوج على هذه لأجل سترهم، يستروا على النساء،
Mhm.
ويكون هناك نوع من الكفالة الاجتماعية، إنه الرجل يصون المرأة، ما تجلس المرأة هكذا. فلو بحثنا سبحان الله سنجد يعني حكم كثيرة وكبيرة مما عمله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في زواجته وكثير أعماله.
Mashallah. And so I was saying that, I mean, it was something that was very common in that zaman. So many of the Sahaba also, because of many battles, men get killed in the battles, and so forth. That other Sahaba will marry, the widow of someone else, and so on. And all of this is just to support and to provide for women. So it is this entire culture of polygamy. It is unlike what they want us to believe about polygamy. But this whole culture of polygamy is actually for the benefit of women, because there's too many women who are left without someone to protect them or to provide for them. Right. So it is actually, the entire concept of polygamy. The world wants to make you see it as if it's for the favor of men. No, it's actually a burden on men, right? For men to be able to pick up all these women and to support them and to protect them, right? So it's actually favor on women, right? In that way, right? So Allahu Alam, it's a lot. Polygamy is a huge topic that you can do your research, right? If you do your research on polygamy, this is a huge topic. In the history of human beings in itself and societies, all around the world, regards to polygamy, it's not something that is exclusive to the Prophet ﷺ, nor something exclusive to the Arabs or exclusive to the Muslims. No, it's kind of worldwide. It's all over the world. You can do your own research on it. نعم. تمام. كأن كملنا السؤال إن شاء الله. إن شاء الله هذا آخر شيء. نعم.
نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن ينفعنا بما علمنا وأن يجعل